two, one. Boost ignition and liftoff. All systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and the Bean universe. Lesbo and the Bean. LaTB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and the Bean.
Welcome back, episode 146. We're almost there. We got another weekend out of the way. Since last time we met, did you happen to catch up on any MMA internationally? We had the PFL really showcase this weekend.
What was the Conor Khabib actually big enough news to get through until the next MMA fight? Because people are acting like it is, because that is all anyone's still talking about. So are they just desperate for information? Because I know we're going to talk about it today, because we're desperate for information. There ain't a lot going on in the fight world.
Well, Dana White specifically on that situation has talked about the fight to make at 155 pounds is Tony Ferguson. Same as we called it here at LaTB.
Hey, of course it is.
And it's the right fight to make. If it wouldn't have been a blowout the way it was, if it wasn't a finish the way it was, maybe there'd be an immediate rematch, Dana White said. But officially, he doesn't see how Tony doesn't have the fight against Khabib, which, thank you, UFC. Thank you, Dana White. Finally getting it right.
Agree. And just for Khabib, I've seen him say a few things about he thinks Tony's the right man for the fight, the right person for the next. And I'm like, thank you, Khabib, or Khabib. So, thank you.
I remember when you, Lesbo, I'm throwing you under the bus a little bit here, you were one of those people that was like, Conor's way more famous than him in Russia. Khabib isn't that big of a deal. Have you seen, since he's won that belt in the fashion he did, that maybe he is that big of a deal?
I don't think he was that big of a deal, and I think that he is one of the people that is actually stealing some of Conor's fame. I think Conor, he is the polar opposite of Conor. So it's like the same thing that happens in music. Glam rock is popular and then grunge comes out underneath it. It's almost exactly what's happening here. You saw it all being about the money, and it has been a Floyd. Conor's just rubbing off from that Floyd Money Mayweather era. He is still part of that, and I think what Khabib's doing is bringing this purity back to the sport, and I'm kind of falling in hearts with Khabib. I'm starting to really, he's genuine. He's a genuine article, and I respect it.
I respect it as well, and there was just a little piece of media ended up retweeting at Lesbo and the Bean on Twitter. Khabib actually stopping the golf cart when he was at one of his stadium celebrations and talking or going and meeting all of the disabled people. That got me. I love that.
I did too, and he just seems, I saw something religious that I can't even, it's replaying in my head and I don't know what happened, but it really is emotional. Like, he just seems like a genuine article. Even the father saying, like, I forgive Conor. I invite him to a Sambo match. I would invite him over to come watch a Sambo match with us. I just think their people might be something different, and hey, propaganda is real. Propaganda is a real thing. So also a lot of conspiratorial stuff could be a lot of propaganda stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in the world. So I don't want to make a judgment on who he surrounds himself with, because sometimes fighters don't really get to choose the money that allows them to do the thing they love before they're famous. I don't know. I'm making excuses for Khabib, but I really like him. He's a different kind of champ. He changes the game.
The Iron Eagle coming through.
Rose Namajunas, same kind of champ, similar.
Yeah, more of the quiet warrior.
I think there's a new day in UFC. I think of course,
there's a new day.
But maybe it's not UFC. Maybe it's humanity.
Whoa! Wow, we got there early on in the show. But before we get into the all existential stuff, did you happen to catch PFL over the weekend? It was one of the few things that I got to wet my beak a little bit, see some talent that's out there.
Just a few brutal highlights.
Twitter highlights, you mean? Some GIFs?
Yes,
and all in between?
Yes.
So, Yamasaki ended up making a showing. I haven't seen him in a while, and that's a good thing. I think he's been cutting his teeth. I did believe I saw clone Yamasaki as well. Was there like a Fernando or Alfredo Yamasaki?
I didn't get to watch too many of the fights. I just saw some of the gnarly knockouts.
Knockout finishes. Jake Shields being knocked out by Koopa. Who else was finished? There was a knee that was illegal in the weird 185-pound bout where both prior fighters fell out the day of. So John Howard stepped up at 85 and decided to fight Taylor. Taylor then threw 2 knees as he was winning the fight on the ground. Was disqualified, but because it was a tournament situation and they're fighting for $1 million, they overruled the injury as him not able to move on to the tournament, so gave Taylor the win. Even though Taylor threw the illegal knees.
I know. It's so sketchy when you see the replays of some of the fights, and you want to say the UFC's gotten better at it, but how long did it take for the Eddie Alvarez-Poirier thing to kind of get figured out? Do you remember that?
I do remember that, and
it wasn't right away, was it? It was like the next day or the next couple of days.
I think they did put it in, and it was eventually overturned. But as of the night, as of your bets cashing, Taylor was the guy.
It ruined your life.
Yeah.
It ruined your life.
Yeah. As far as that night, it can totally screw you over. I am liking what I'm seeing, though, in other organizations with Bellator and PFL doing this tournament setting. There was the unique standard throughout the night that these fighters, Cooper himself, fought twice in one night. He was the winner, so was Ferreira, his opponent, who he had to fight in the quarterfinals in order to get the championship spot. They both came out with early wins, but then you get into weird situations when you have a fighter fighting the same night via Bob Sapp, Ernesto Hoost, where the winner can have broken ribs and a hand and can't move on anyways. So
it's a bit crazy. I want to see the fighters at their healthiest, because it sucks if like you might be the best guy in the room, but you're coming in from your last fight having a broken rib.
They were only two 5-minute rounds. Do you think that played a role?
2 5-minute rounds.
So 10 minutes.
I feel like I would like 3-minute rounds.
That's wrestling for me. That's some collegiate wrestling. 3-minute rounds,
5-minute
perfect.
rounds is a bit much. I think a 3-minute round, and I would like more of them.
That'd be super high energy. That'd be UFC on Blitz. There's a lot of people who like to go the other way and say 10-minute first rounds via old Pride days, where you could really get to work in the first round, tire your guy out in the first minute, and you have a full 9 minutes to work. Then 2 5-minute rounds after.
I don't know. I still, I'm starting to like the Bellator circle. I'm starting to get comfortable with that over the octagon. Is that heresy?
I don't think so at all. I like the changes. I also think that the gloves could stand a change just due to all the eye pokes and everything.
You're so right.
That's a big proponent for a lot of hardcore fans. Just like, hey, you can round the edge of it and turn it more into a mitten, and it'll really change everything. With other promotions, did you happen to catch any gifts of the bare knuckle fighting organization getting at it?
Not a one.
Oh, really? There was a couple of highlight finishes, some ladies getting at it, but the evolution of combat sports and how MMA has gotten all these other promotions in line. I feel like in Russia there's knights fighting in full armor, like in teams of 2.
Or like 8.
Or they're doing teams of 8, and there's the grappling scenes now where they're doing Uriah Faber versus Barnett's team, and they did 5-on-5 where the cap is 195 pounds. As long as your team is in that, those guys weigh under that limit. Each one wrestles whoever. Doesn't matter the size. It's just out of a hat. It's fun because jiu-jitsu and grappling changes it.
I think your whole team should have to have a weight, like 800 pounds.
Yeah, that's it. It's 950 or 945 or something.
But this is what I think should be the thing about it, which would then be a bonus for like a Uriah Faber's team, which your team you could have more people if you could squeeze them in.
Oh, like you could add a whole nother body?
Yeah, 800 pounds.
800 pounds.
So then it might be worth it to have some small dudes and some women.
So you get 800 pounders?
If that works better. Maybe a 200-pound dude could just take 200 200-pound people and smash them together.
Well, it's one-on-one when you get them in there.
Maybe you could have
But it's a
two
team event.
250ers.
I like where you're going with this.
Or
LaTB
whatever.
Incorporated
Three.
needs to
Bad
start
at
getting a fight promotion going.
Yeah.
There's some mini wrestling in town. I feel like we could get a
The
foot
weight
stable.
of the team, and that's all it is, and it's just different weights, and they have like a 3,
Ooh.
but it's like your whole team comes in.
And it's is it slap grappling or
I was
just
just
grappling?
about to say I like the BJJ with strikes, or any kind of grappling with strikes, but just palm strikes. Yeah.
And then here's where LaTB comes in his next level: unisex leagues.
I think, well, this is where it would make sense, though, for smaller dudes and women, because women usually weigh less, so you might be able to squeeze in, like, oh, we only have 110 pounds left to spare. Maybe we want this woman easily over a 110-pound dude. Like, you know, the 110-pound dude's like a computer nerd. The 110-pound woman's like Rose Namajunas. You know what I mean?
It's thinking that we have something here. I think that we could take this places, maybe get on that Shark Tank, come out with a fight.
our own fight league.
We don't need, Dana White tank.
And it could be a rectangle, so it could be thin, so it could be bottlenecked. There has to be some way to make it bottlenecked.
They do that pit in other countries where it kind of is rounded on the
sides.
edges. Yeah. Ooh, what if you went straight up Kumite and it was like a half pipe? And those were the boundaries too. If you got knocked out of the pit, you lost.
Where you could crawl up the sides and jump in.
And
yeah. You could slide in. That's how everyone had to come in, was from each side, from the top.
I see it. And then we use the Japanese drums to bring in our peeps. Do the pride walk in.
No. They'd have their own, whatever they wanted. If their team was an African pride team, then they'd have those kind of drums. If it was fucking an ICP, insane clown posse,
Juggalos
the
come in.
Juggalos,
Oh
they'd
my
have their
gosh.
own song. If it was like country people, like they'd come in to like Garth Brooks or some shit. Like
the country boy can't survive.
Yeah, sometimes people would come in on all like break dance.
Oh, that's the Eddie Bravo team.
Yeah, like there'd be all sorts of groups, and there would be like, think of how many more jiu-jitsu guys you could fit in than power.
I'm thinking an all ladies team. I don't know why.
Because then you could have all jiu-jitsu lady masters.
Oh, of course, it'd be the highest level, but then it would.
Palm strikes.
That's the palm strikes is the only time where I'm like, I don't know if that would work. That'd give
What
away
about
a
if you?
big advantage.
What about if you had it where it was also, but the strikes were only with John glasses?
Oh, still a
The
disadvantage with a
Mexican
whooping.
division. Like they all had random weapons. It'd be so stupid. But anyway, I think that we're onto something. I think fighting's getting bigger around the world.
Agreed. And different forms of combat sports people are starting to become more open to. So there's going to be a bunch of different leagues coming out.
500,000 new followers Derek Lewis got because he said, "My balls is hot."
Which there's a t-shirt out now.
That is, we are in such a state of the world.
Idiocracy is a documentary.
I know, it's a real thing.
Ouch, my balls.
What is going on? I love it. That's what I'm right involved. I'm like,
I agree. I do.
I just put Gatorade on my lawn this morning. Like
The thirst quencher.
I'm there. See, okay, check. We talked about Conor and Khabib. Conor's everywhere with that whiskey.
He has been promoting it heavily. I've seen it running around some of my sports feeds as well. Commercials of native born and it's proper 12 from the district. That's proper whiskey 12. Not paid for by McGregor Incorporated, but you can send the check to LaTB Incorporated. We got a little
Proper 12, Conor. That was free commercial.
You're welcome.
Proper 12. That was the Bean backing of Proper 12. Does Conor McGregor.
Yes.
He's had some kind of cool looking commercials. Some people say he looks rough right now. Like he looks unkempt compared to normal Conor McGregor.
It's what the money brings. Cocaine, baby.
I just think you can't be buttoned up all the time in a pressed fucking cufflinks. Like sometimes you gotta be a little unbuttoned too. No tie. His beard's gotten a little longer. He's trying a new fashion statement. Sometimes it's casual.
The money will change you. the money will change you. We've been proponents of that.
Did you see there was that beautiful video of him seeing, there's an Irish boxer and she's a woman backstage?
I was getting there.
Oh, do it.
I did say that, and he was giving props, and she was just in awe. Conor does use his fame for good. He does do a lot of positive things. There's been some bad things, but that's why he's as big of a star that he is. How did you feel that went down? What, as a pro boxer or a pro athlete, and you saw Conor McGregor come in, what would you think? What would you do?
It felt so sincere to me, and he seemed touched, and he said it was an honor, and I think he really meant, like, if there's anything I can ever do, because he knows how hard it is coming up, living on food stamps as a fighter. I really think he was sincere. I think Conor will be in touch. I think he'll have his own gig. I think Conor is paying attention. He's going to be a big deal. He's going to be a big deal for his country politically. I think him and Khabib could cross paths again, both in a political atmosphere. I think it's in a new world we live in.
I totally agree with that, and there's just going to be more money to be made. Talking about the money will change you real quick. If you're over here in the States, not to discriminate against our global fans, but have you gotten your ticket? It's at $1.6 billion, and if there's anything we've seen before is those jackpots get the highest when the economy's doing the roughest. Or am I lying there?
I think you are dead on. There's probably some kind of, I think my funny thing is if they called every American and said, all right, you guys, so we fucked up royally and we need cash fast, so we're going to add $2 to every single one of your taxes this week on your paychecks, which will add up to $4 a month, $4 in the 2 weeks, $8 in the month, and we'd be like, F you, Trump, screw you, Trump. But if it's done in the form of a lottery, how much does the government get of that? Oh wait, is this the right podcast?
So you did buy your ticket
I'm
to be able to
I'm all in.
spend it. The money will change it. You know that here at LaTB, with a quick infusion, we're going to be bringing to you even better, more premium content. We will start our own fight league.
We will start our own gym, and we will go to every fight, and we will have the best
sponsors,
and we will have,
you know, Condom Depot, like back in the day. That's going to be LaTB Productions.
And we will have our own podcast thing.
Think tank.
Yeah, it'll be great. You guys will grow with us. You'll be like, holy shit, you've been listening. And all of our first listeners will remember.
You know who you are.
We'll remember.
Even though all of the new fans will remember those too, because thank you for jumping on board. We have had a good infusion in the last few little bit. That Conor Khabib fight did end up bringing eyes our way and the entire community, so we're all benefited from it.
We're all getting bigger, everyone.
So,
all getting bigger, people.
Other fights that have officially have come around. We have Weidman Rockhold officially falling out.
Blum, blum.
Luke Rockhold, does he have a disclosed or undisclosed injury right now?
I don't know. I could probably look
I
it
don't
up.
know what officially why he's out, but he is out. We have Jacare Souza stepping in short notice against Weidman. Hey, not a bad fight. Is this a rematch? Have these guys fought before?
I don't remember this fight
I don't think they've ever
and
fought
I'm
either.
Excited about
so
it.
this is a
I'm
fresh
more
matchup.
Excited about it, I think, than the Rockhold.
I would agree with that. It's a fresher matchup, a cleaner matchup.
Yeah. I'm kind of into it, everyone.
So we are going to have a breakdown for you next week of that. No, that's not that card, but that is just one of those that you have to take in mind.
It was just the UFC's way of getting Chris to the gym, or getting Chris to sign on the bottom line. Luke Rockhold has no intentions of fighting at 185 again, in my opinion.
I could see that. He looked raw. He's looked rough. Weidman too, though. Weidman too's in that boat.
I know. I agree with you. Weidman should go up to 205. If both of them have 3 fights left, or 2 fights left, or however many, 5 fights left, they'll have better fights and probably wins if they move up.
I totally agree. Totally
or at
agree.
least interesting fights. But maybe moving up for Luke, why Daniel was the 205 fighting for that championship, there was nothing to be gained there. But now that Daniel's not fighting to keep his 205 belt and letting that division move on, which is super respectful. And that's what I also like about Khabib, is that he is allowing the division to move on by wanting to fight Tony instead of doing this Conor melee and just letting, you know, this keep happening. I love. So I like that Daniel Cormier is honorable enough to just be like, I don't need to hold 2 belts. Stop fighting for me and what the UFC did to me. I'm sure the UFC and Daniel Cormier are in great standings. Like,
totally.
I think he was like, no, dude,
Yep.
let it move on.
I think you're spot on there. So quick, just so that we don't make it light of the boxer, Katie Taylor defended her IBFW ABA lightweight world titles in Boston, the unanimous decision. That was the boxer that Conor met. I do believe that she is an Irish fighter as well.
Katie Taylor, she's Irish. She's not just an honor to watch her fight, and it is not just really beautiful, that she is an inspiration for Ireland and for women.
Takes me back to Angela's Ashes. Did I just get it? Woo!
It was almost the Titanic.
The Emmy goes to.
that was my Conor McGregor.
Is there any other MMA verse?
Oh my gosh, there
universe?
has to be so
Oh,
much.
there is, but a topic I feel like I've been hitting on a few of them. I don't know if you had one in your back pocket.
How badly do you think, or what do you, JJ Shevchenko? Does Shevchenko finish JJ?
No, I think that's a decision fight all over, but that's a high level Darren Till / Thompson where people might boo a little bit at that. There might be some cage work and just clinches and very
It'll be in
Muay Thai
Canada.
striking.
It'll be in Canada.
Okay,
it
so
might
they'll
be a little,
appreciate it.
Educated crowd.
More so. But yeah, I think I see decision all over, and it's close. You know that here, I'm on a Valentina bias, but that's a hell of a fight. It's a hell of a fight.
I see JJ just getting hurt in that fight. Hurt. I think Shevchenko handles her.
Wow.
If Shevchenko or if JJ was fighting Amanda Nunes, I don't even fathom how she would stay in the octagon with Amanda Nunes, and Shevchenko went to decision with her twice. That's an interesting fight to me.
I cannot wait. How long do we have to wait? Is that December? Is that in the December-November card?
I think that's 232.
I couldn't tell you right now with all the 2s, 3s, and 13s running around out there. There's so many
Someone will
dates to
write in and
remember.
correct us and
Oh,
be
I'm
like,
sure.
I think it's so funny that you said 232 when it's actually totally 231.
Or a fight night. No, it's not a fight night. But other fights that I wish I could see on the horizon that the UFC may or may not go with. Who else would you pick? Who else would you have that maybe somebody's not thinking of? We know Khabib, Tony, that's a super fight. What other super fights other than Brock Lesnar? Because he's
What
unique in
else
his
do I
own
need?
sense.
I need Sugar Shane. I need to figure out what's going on with my boy to get him back. We need to get Zabit going in the right direction and fighting some fights that actually move him ahead in the numbers. We got a couple of superstars, I feel like, in every division. We got TJ Dillashaw sitting stagnant. What's going on? Are we moving TJ Cejudo forward? Are we going to keep the 125 division? Are we going to do a 165 division? We didn't really talk about Poirier Nate very much.
Because that fight has officially fallen out.
It's such a bummer, though.
Yeah,
I guess
we did. We did talk about it. Yeah,
It's such a bummer, and then the fact that Nate's not fighting is a bummer. But Poirier said that Nate just out negotiated the whole entire thing. They could have had the main event, but Nate just wanted more money and more money and more money until the UFC was like,
own worst enemy.
yeah.
The Diaz brothers, their own worst enemy. They're marketing geniuses, and they're also their own thorn in their own side at times. But they're learning. They're smart
Or
guys.
he's just like, no, I'm not going to let you pay
Push me
me
around.
pennies or peanuts to headline Madison Square Gardens, and then you're going to go and whore us out and have us do all this fight promotion. And that is the other thing that I was going to ask you. Do you think Khabib can keep up with the demands of a really popular champion? There aren't a lot that have to do the kind of John Jones, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, and even though no one had it like Conor McGregor, he also, the one thing you have to give him credit for is he knew the value of his own name. So he said, no, I'm not showing up. Or I show up in my own time. Or I do it on my, whatever schedule where, everybody else was, right there by the book, whatever the UFC says for these tours. Do you think Khabib's going to get worn out?
From what I've seen in the history of champions, eventually all of them turn to less media, less production, less tapings. They all eventually, other than Demetrius Johnson, he's pretty much the only one, and maybe Dominic Cruz, but even then Dominic Cruz fell off and only stayed around because of his commentating instead of write-ups to his fight more than anything. So, yeah, the common thread for me is you become the champion and you're like, holy shit, I need to train for beasts. These guys don't have the media obligations that I do because they do have to go do morning radio at Rock FM in New York on Sunday, 6 a.m. with Tony and the boy. Hong, hong, hong.
And they have to do interviews with people who have
No
idea who they are.
No idea. And they're like, so you do that fighting in a cage. Do they get to bring weapons in there? And you're just like, shoot me in the face.
Do you drop in from like a chain from the sky, from the ceiling?
I've seen these cage matches. WWE when Kane won the championship.
I'm so glad Eddie Alvarez is going to make tons of money over at One Championship, but I am so sad that we won't see him fight in the UFC anymore in the 150. That division was just so deep. It was like we had all these key players, and I know there's still all these key players, and with Iaquinta and Lee fighting soon, they'll move up and do it. One of them will move to his spot easily.
Totally.
But just jeez. Did we talk about Layman Good versus Ben Saunders book for UFC 230?
We did not. I have not heard about this. Ben Saunders.
Yeah.
Ben Old Scarecrow Saunders.
Yeah, that's it.
10th Planet
Isn't
Jiu-Jitsu.
he winning fights though, or did he lose his last fight?
I think he did win his last
I
fight.
think he's 2 in a row win.
I think so too, but I am always clenching my teeth watching a Ben Saunders fight. He's always one strike away from being put out of there. And Liam Good is one of those guys who officially popped on USADA, already took a 1.5 year suspension and come back. So he might still have a little after effects on it. And Ben Saunders, again, chin, he's had specific matchups that were beneficial for him. I think it was Ellenberger that he just beat. So, yeah, I'm going to have to fade Saunders in this initially. I don't see myself coming around the other way either.
Unless Saunders submits Lyman Good?
I don't think that's even going to happen. Good has solid submission defense, strong on the ground, good takedown defense. It'll
He's
be
good.
Yeah, he's good, and Saunders is on his way down, unfortunately.
What about our OG game bred fighter coming back potentially December 20 whatever?
With who?
I don't think anyone yet. I'm just throwing
Exactly.
it out, so.
Exactly. I wish, and here, we've been game bred fans for a long time. He was our original person we had to winning the belt, and eventually just saw that he might have other intent coming off of that Latin America Survivor show where he spent 13 weeks. He hasn't even been training UFC. He's been out on an island working out, essentially doing challenge type MTV challenge type situations. So Gamebred, I think that publicly he understands how to keep his name in it, and he's just kind of creating chatter for himself right now. But I haven't seen an official fight even half brought up. I haven't even seen speculation of who might fight him. Have you?
Right. Well, he was saying that he'd step in and fight Nate Diaz at
I would
Madison Square Garden.
love
But
that.
Nate Diaz is like, whatever.
Yeah, doing his Nate Diaz things.
I'm out.
Yeah, pay me, bitch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fuck
probably.
you, pay me. And it's like, whoa. They are. I can get behind what Nate's saying. What I can't get behind at times is the way he says it. Sometimes it's just like, you don't have to be so rough about it. But again, you're a pro fighter. Somebody gets hit in the face for a living.
3 minutes ago, Bloody Elbow just did an article from Poirier. Nate Diaz was a huge headache over negotiated for UFC 230.
Dun dun dun. On the nerve, on the pulse, hear that be. We can read between the lines.
Yes. Yes. I don't know.
Any other lines? I think we're going to wait for that big breakdown on Wednesday. We're going to have a Saturday night card.
Yay! Fights are back.
Finally.
I know. I feel like I'm a little sad without fights. But
it's only going to get better from here
we
on
did
out.
it. We strung it together and we didn't talk about Holly Holm's hair.
This time.
This time. We'll save it. So once again, thanks for listening and we will see you Wednesday.
LaTB!
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.